You're listening to Ask Mr. Brown. Got questions? Well, ask Mr. Brown. He'll give you his perspective on your questions. He's a speaker, a mentor. He's the choice guy who wants to help you make better choices to live a better life. So go ahead, ask Mr. Brown.
Well, hello, everybody. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Ask Mr. Brown, where I give you my perspective on your questions. And so I'm very, very grateful to have this privilege to answer questions or give my perspective. And again, if you got a different perspective, man, I would love to hear it. I don't think I'm right about everything, but I want to give a perspective. Maybe a perspective you haven't heard before or thought of before, or maybe a perspective your parents already gave you, but you didn't want to listen, because I've been there, done that. Didn't want to listen to mama, but mama was right about a lot of stuff, and it took someone else from the outside to help me catch on what she was saying. So if I'm able to help you in that way, amazing. And again, this is not just for students. This is for adults as well. I got some questions upcoming that are more from parents to kids or about family, and I want to share those too, because I think it's important that we communicate with each other at all ages. It's not just a segmented group of us who need to make better choices, because guess what? Parents, adults, we need to make better choices, live better life as well. So this question today, I'm excited to answer. This is pre-recorded again, a pre-recorded question that was submitted to me, and actually was a conversation that I had with Rachel Hudson. Again, if I invite any of you to come on board and talk. I got some other recordings coming up later, but this has been fun, interact with students and people who have questions, not just to read them off a piece of paper, but do the interaction part, which I really, really enjoy. So here we go with this week's question, submitted again by Rachel Hudson. You deserve that, Rachel. You deserve that round of applause. You deserve that. So anyway, here's our question. Let me fade the music out, and then we'll do this little sound effect. All right, what's your question?
What advice would you give to someone who is struggling to choose well because of bad influences around them?
What advice would I give someone who's struggling to choose well because of bad influences around them? I will give them very simple advice. Stop making excuses. I think if you're saying that, if this person's saying that they're making bad choices because of other people, that's an excuse, because you got to make your own choices. You have to step back and say, what do I want from my life? Do I want this? Because at some point, if you're around those people by choice, you're making a choice. You're making a choice to be around those negative influences, unless you're going to be a positive influence. For an example, growing up as a kid, I had friends that played basketball. I was part of two, what they call cliques. I was part of the group of kids that were jocks or athletes. I was also part of a group of kids who were like, I don't want to say it this way, but they were the, how would you say it? The cool kids who were about the girls. They were like, I don't know how to put it, but like the Playboys. Yeah, yeah. I was part of those groups, those two groups. And being around athletes, that means athletes start making horrible choices. And I was always the kid in the group telling them not to do that. They'd have these parties and get drink. I tell them don't do this. And I'd be the one. I probably shouldn't have been at those parties, because if something would happen, I got in trouble too. But I found myself the one taking care of his little sister, because everybody else was drunk, and I was taking care of his little 2-year-old sister, so she wouldn't wouldn't die because everybody else was drunk and knocked out. I was always the kid saying, hey, don't knock over that mailbox. That's just stupid. Don't do that. And they still let me be around for a while. I was always around until they started selling drugs, and then they didn't let me know that, and they didn't tell me that part, and I was not around them. And gratefully, 3 of them ended up going to jail, because one of them got the car and robbed somebody, and they all ended up in jail. I'm glad I wasn't there. So I would say this, that if you're struggling to choose well because of bad influences, you got to figure out what you want out of your life. Like I talked about earlier, you got to take a step back and ask yourself, if I make this choice, how's it going to affect me now? How's it going to affect me later? How's it going to affect me in my future? What do I want out of my future? Because it's coming quicker than you think. I kind of joke with people. I have a friend who makes fun of old people. He talks about their hair, talks about, just their aches and pains, and makes jokes about them. Instead of getting letters, you just get telegrams, stuff like that. And I feel bad for him, because guess what? Age is coming for you, bro. It's coming for all of us. This age thing, you can't escape it. You're gonna get old too. As a friend of mine said recently, he was talking to me. He said, "Man, you know what? Remember we used to go to those family reunions, and you see those old people talking. Man, we those old people." I'm like, it's happening. And so thinking about, in the moment, you're making these bad choices because of other people, these bad influences. Where do you want to be in the future? Because the truth is, you're in a temporary stage in life right now. You're a teenager, and you won't always be a teenager. but the choices you make now will impact your future long term. I'll put it this way. Here's one of my favorite quotes from a guy named Andy Stanley. He says this: "Don't trade what you want most for what you want in the moment." Don't trade what you want most out of your life for what you want in the moment. And I think that is so crucial, because in making those bad choices now, you're trading what you want most maybe for what you want in that moment. That moment of that bad choice may feel good in the moment, but it's really what you want long term. And so I teach on that a lot, that quote. I have some videos online and I teach on that quote because I really like it. And I had a student respond to me one day and say, "Well, Mr. Brown, what if I don't know what I want?" And I think that's a great question. Okay, the quote is, "Don't trade what you want most for what you want in the moment." And her question was, "What if I don't know what I want most?" My response is, "Do you know what you don't want?" Do you know what you don't want out of your life? And this particular girl, her mom had been on drugs and she'd be taken out of home and a lot of stuff with that whole thing. And I said, "Do you know that you don't want that kind of lifestyle?" She says, "Yes." And I think sometimes it's important to ask yourself this question. If you come from a bad, difficult home life, you can say, "Do I want what my parents had? Do I want the situation for my kids that I'm in now one day?" If the answer is no, then you can't make the same choices they're making. That they made. You got to make some different choices. So even if you don't know what you want, maybe you don't know what you want to be in your career one day. And I think sometimes we adults put too much pressure on young kids to think about what they exactly want to be. You may not know. Hey, know what kind of person you want to be. You don't have to know what job you want right away. You can know what kind of person you want to be, what you aspire to be, but you don't have to have that job all figured out yet, because you're still young and you have different experiences that will teach you what you really like and what you gravitate to. But knowing what you don't want is important. Do you want to be in jail? Do you want to be strung out on drugs? Do you want to be homeless because of drug use? If you know you don't want those things, don't trade what you want most, because if you don't want those things, there's something else you do want. Don't trade that for the moment. You committing a crime. What could happen if you get caught? See, they don't think about what they get caught. They just think about, this is fun right now, right? And I know what that feeling is. And I'm going to tell you this story. I told it on the Mr. Brown show not too long ago. And Rachel, you may remember this story from videos I made. But I will tell you the truth about being impulsive, because I was around some bad influences sometimes. And this isn't really about other people. This is about being impulsive. One day I was at a birthday party. I was 18. I was a grown man, so to speak. And I was at a 12-year-old birthday party. And I was very impulsive, and we had birthday cake, and we're all sitting around eating birthday cake, and I joked like I was going to put the cake in the birthday girl's face. I just kind of joked, and I kind of made this gesture toward her face. She's like, "You wouldn't." I did. I put this cake in this girl's face on her birthday, and in the moment, in that like 2 seconds, it felt good, but that third second, I realized what I did, and it was horrible. She started crying. She started hitting me, and everybody was upset. I'm surprised her uncles didn't just murder me, right? I messed up this girl's birthday because of a little dare, because of something that was just like impulsive. And so on a larger scale, are you making choices like that you're going to regret because of people, those bad influences? Now, let me just say this too, and you got me thinking about this. Bad influences doesn't necessarily mean people in my mind. It could also mean the things you're listening to, the TV shows you're watching, the media that you're consuming, because I look at it this way, and this is a whole nother subject maybe one day, but what you consume will one day consume you. The fact that you are consuming these things, that you are being involved with these things that are teaching you to think a certain way. Like music. I mean, some of the music that teenagers listen to today, and I don't know teenagers, just people, because there's adults producing this stuff. Some of the stuff that influences your thinking about yourself. My wife was at a local department store trying on some clothes, and the next stall over, some girls were trying on clothes. They were singing this song that I don't think these teenagers realized was so degrading to them as individuals and as women. My wife was shocked that they were singing these lyrics. They knew every lyric and they were singing it, and it was degrading to them. But that kind of influence will influence how you act. And so you have to be very careful what you allow into your mind. I look at it this way. Our minds are like a garden. And would you let anybody come plant anything in your garden? Would you let people come plant weeds, not just weed, but weeds and crabgrass and things that are not good into your mind? No, you wouldn't. Well, you do sometime when you watch media, because you just open your mind and go, hey, put this in my mind. Tell me what to think about this. Tell me, because what we laugh at, sometimes we will accept. So we laugh at these things that are not necessarily funny when you really look at the big picture, but yet it becomes a part of our thinking. And so I think it's very, very important that the bad influences are not limited to people that you interact with, but what you're consuming through media, through YouTube, I watch so many kids, like people subscribe to my YouTube channel. And so when they subscribe, you can see other stuff they subscribe to. And I'm like, you subscribe to me and that person? Like, that is horrible. The stuff they're putting out is horrible for you. It's not a good diet. But yet they do both. And so I'm hoping that, the positive influence can be more positive. I get entertainment, but sometimes the entertainment doesn't stay entertainment. It becomes education. It teaches you how to think about certain situations, certain people. And so I would say ultimately, and I know I talked a while because I get excited about this stuff, ultimately, in order to choose well, you have to think about what you want out of your life, no matter what the bad influences are, because you can't make it, at the end of the day, you can't make an excuse. I did this because of that person. I did this because of this music. No, it's up to you. You have to make better choices to live a better life. So ultimately, no matter what your influences are, you have to choose well because it is your life, it is your choices, and you can't blame anybody else. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Thank you.
Any follow-up question to that?
No.
All right. Well, thank you so much for that question. It was a great question.
Thank you.
There we go. Another episode done. But the conversation doesn't have to be done because you can submit your thoughts, your comments, your questions in several ways. Number one, our 24-hour feedback phone. The number is 530-535-8121. I'd love to hear your perspective on these questions and my thoughts. You can also give me a message through our website, askmrbrown.com, or you can go leave a message on YouTube if you're watching this on YouTube. If you're listening to us on podcasts, there's a place there you can comment as well. I'd love to hear from you. And thank you so much for taking time to join us and be a part of just helping our culture make better choices, live better lives. And these questions were for students, but some of the principles apply to us as adults as well. Especially the idea about bad influences, because all of us struggle with bad influences from friends, from relatives, from people around us, and especially through media. Because all of us at this point in life where we're watching something we know we shouldn't be watching. We know it. I was watching it. I turned on the show the other day, and I started watching the show, and I was this movie, and I was like, no. But it was so bad, I wanted to see it, but I'm like, do I really need this in my head? And the answer was no. So I turned it off. Started watching The Cosby Show. Anyway, thanks for joining me, and I'll try to keep these episodes short, but I want them to be good. So let me know what your thoughts are. Your feedback is very, 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 very wanted. That's the word I was looking for. Anyway, thanks for joining me for this episode of Ask Mr. Brown. Until next time, peace!
Hey, we'd love to hear from you. All you got to do is go ahead and post a question, or you can call us and text us at 530-535-8121. That's right. That's the 24-hour feedback phone where you can now text your question at 530-535-8121.